Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sandpaper letters. So with the sandpaper letters, we're going to introduce them, usually just one or two at a time, as far as my understanding. As they get older, they would be ready for more. But we're basically going to sit down with the child and get out one or two letters. I brought the whole box for this, but I wouldn't probably do that with a small child. I don't want to distract them with anything extra. So I would sit with them, and then I would show them with two fingers how to trace the letter, the same way that I would write it. So with the ka, I would start at the top and I would go to the bottom, and so that's what I'm going to do on the sandpaper letter as well. I'm using two fingers to increase the sensation. And I'm also going to say the sound it makes, not the name, but the sound. The sound is more important for being able to sound out words and actually read. So we will learn the names as well, of course, but and children tend to pick that up from just the alphabet song. And I'm sure that there are children who don't, and there are some other ways to do it. But so I would say, come with me. I want to show you something. Sit down, trace it. Ka, 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 ka. Sorry, I messed up there, and I want to point out why I messed up. I said ka, which is not just the sound this letter makes. I added a vowel sound after it, so it's almost like it had a U after it. Ka. That's not what we want to do. We want to be very particular about saying k, 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 the sound that this makes. So k, 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 k. Okay. So some other things you could do later. You could do a couple of other letters and do a 3-period lesson. So I could do also b, 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 and ah, and let them trace it in between. So I trace it, they trace it, I trace it and say the name, the sound. I trace it and say the sound, and then they trace it and say the sound. Then I might ask them which one's ka, which is b, which one is ah. Okay, touch ah, touch b, put ka on your head, something like that. Okay, and then see if they can remember them. So it depends on the age of the child and the readiness. You always sort of stop if it seems to be too much, or like that's enough. That child just needs one sound to think about right now. Maybe you could challenge them. If we just did ka, you could say, I wonder how many things you can find that start with ka. Or I wonder if you can see any of this letter anywhere in the room. Maybe you could take a look. And just leave them to explore. If a child is older and ready and they're doing, more than one letter, that's fine. I would leave it at 3 max per lesson or per session. And then later, another entirely different lesson, you could start to put the sounds together and sound them out. Sound them out in different ways. Okay, so we have a phonetic word here. K-ab, k-ab. Oh, I wrote cab, like a taxi cab, right? And if they had they could do cat, and then they could do tack. I just dropped that one on the ground. Oops. So basically, I would start, you don't have to go in alphabetical order. I would start with the most used letters, like t and a and da. Do your vowels, but sprinkle your vowels in, maybe in the first few lessons. And then especially a and ah, ones that you can make lots of short words with. And well, all the vowels are great. Okay, but then use the consonants that are most used. You don't need to do X in your first lesson. You're not going to use X that much at first, so you could do more blending, and it's going to be more practice for them if they're doing ul and ch and letters that are used quite frequently. So they can also, later on, they could use these to write it with chalk. And I'm sure there's tons of other extensions, and if I find some more interesting ones, I'll write them in the notes, and please feel free to add some in the comments. Thanks.